going home and watching that over and over and over, these planes hitting these buildings, these planes hitting these buildings. And then I saw, they would show video clips of Palestine and a bunch of people celebrating and think it was, it made me mad, dude. It made me really angry, and I guess you could say I had some Islamophobia for a little while. I questioned people that looked a certain way, but
I think we all did.
Yeah, I think that's just something that we were as a nation. But you know what, Ken? I will say, dude, September 12th, I think it was one of the most beautiful days our country has ever had because we were all American. We all had someone to point our fingers at and say, they're the problem. We're going to go get them. We came together, people in record numbers went to blood banks, and we were willing to do whatever it was going to take to make our country whole again and to come together. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. I still do, dude. I still long for that situation that we're all one nation, that we're all pulling the rope in the same direction, that we're not fighting, no one wanted to hear any bullshit about identity or politics. We just wanted to be Americans for one day, and of course, a couple months later, it all fucking falls apart. So, it was just back to business as usual. And, I hated Bush because he's sitting there going, take a trip and did it like, it's like, okay, that's like not the thing to talk about as a president is like how you should go out shopping, I don't know. I just didn't think that was our number one priority. And then the Iraq war happened. And like you, I wanted to join the Air Force. And, I had a buddy go in, I had two buddies go in. And I was all set to go, same thing, go take my ASVAB, all that stuff. And then my dad's like, hey, you know what? Why don't you see how this war plays out? We don't know what's going to happen. Once you sign on that dotted line, you're going to be there and you're not getting out and you don't know what they're going to do with you. So it made me think about it for a little bit and I decided not to do it. Do I regret that? Probably. I would have preferred to fight for my country. But the Iraq war happened. I had friends that were there and they were coming back telling me all these terrible stories of what was going on. And I had a buddy tell me the story about how they would hang piano wires on bridges and guys that were poking their heads out of the Humvees would slice their heads off, and just knowing that and seeing what they're going through, I became very much against the Iraq war, very much against Bush, the Republicans. I looked at us like we were being these world police and that it was time for that to end. And so, yeah, I'm a Democrat. Obama comes along, man. Oh my God, Ken, I thought like you had the guy that you're into. I thought Obama was a second coming. I thought, my God, he speaks so well. It's like like Dana Carvey said, it's like taking a bath in warm butterscotch. Like it's just like the way, like he made you feel when he was speaking. And I liked his message. Some of it I'd still resonate with because he was talking about taking responsibility. You can wait around for change or you can go and do it. You yourself have to do it. So I voted for Obama. I told my friends to vote for Obama, and and you're going to laugh. This is really naive, but I really thought because of all the movies I saw growing up, that like when the first black guy, won the Heisman or all these movies where it was the first black guy, he turned out to be like the best ever. I thought because he's black, he's going to be the best president we ever had. Like literally that was my number one driver to that was like, yeah, okay, well, he's black, so he's going to be the best. That's how it works. He's the first black president. He's going to be the best. So, but he gets elected and I really thought he would be like Clinton where he would like, do this and that and kind of work on the economy through like taxation methods and stuff like that. But what happened was that the thing that really broke me and changed me was the day after the election. I'm tuning in because I've always had a job where I was driving around, or I've always been in a truck all day. And I'm listening to Mark Levin's show and he plays Reagan's speech from 1964, A Time for Choosing. And I never heard the speech before. And it changed because I'm like listening to the words he's saying. It's like, my God, these are the same things people are talking about now. Like, how can the problems that we had back in 1964 be the same crap we're having now? And then, I start seeing the Tea Party and I start going to some of these events, one that was in a park down here in Vegas. And and I'm like, yeah, they're talking about like low taxation, and me being always part of a small business. I was like, yeah, I started talking to people that have money, and they're like, the number one problem we have is that we just want the government to get off our back, and so we can grow our businesses. And I looked at what Obama was doing with it. Just seemed like his number one concern was healthcare, and the way the Democrats were going about it. And it just seemed like it was so much cloak and dagger, like having to have a vote at 1 o'clock in the morning. What in the hell was that all about, dude? Like, why do you need to have a vote for healthcare? The last vote at 1 o'clock in the morning. What? Why? Like, or when you have Pelosi saying that, we have to pass a bill so you know what's in it. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, that doesn't make any sense, Um, and then the stuff that happened with TARP before Obama, that we're bailing out these banks. Why is that government's job? I thought we're in a free market economy where if you fail, you fail. If you rise, you rise. Um,
Hmm.
so all these things came in. I'm in the Tea Party thing, and what really I guess started radicalizing me is that the media portrayed it, the left wing media like MSNBC, that there was Nazis there. I never saw one Nazi. Never saw one Nazi. I never saw one racist person. It was grandmas and grandpas with signs. It wasn't that the guy was black. It was because he was wanting the way he governed was in a fundamentally different way than it had been done before. And you could call it socialism, you can call it this and that. And I just felt like as an executive, he was pushing his agenda just too hard, too fast. And it was something that half of America was not prepared for. But at that point, I'm a libertarian. And I wasn't a Republican. I was never going to be a Republican. I was a libertarian. And it just seemed like every time an event happening during Obama, like a school shooting, he would use that to go after guns. It had to be part of the national discourse that, and you heard words from Rahm Emanuel, don't let any tragedy go to waste. It's like all these things. And then Glenn Beck, dude, these are the guys that really opened my mind, was guys like Glenn Beck, Michael Savage. I started listening to these guys a lot. And not only that, I started reading, reading left-wing books like Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, things like that, Communist Manifesto, just trying to understand why the hard left like believes what they believe. And what I saw happening was there was something in academia happening, that these
Hmm.
kids were coming out so angry and so full of the want to commit class warfare. And you saw that in the Occupy movement. Again, the mainstream media had the Tea Party as the bad guys, but Occupy Wall Street. Oh, this is all just grassroots effort. These are just a bunch of kids. We don't even know what they're. No, dude, this was an orchestrated fucking left wing movement done by the organized left. I mean, the way they got all these kids down to Zuccotti Park, it wasn't because they showed up for a protest. It's because they thought there was a free concert from Radiohead. That's how they got everybody down there. And then they just started pumping their heads full of bullshit. You have all these college kids coming out of college, and that's where I really started paying attention to like what's going on with academia. Um, why? What are they teaching these kids? Why are these kids so dead set against our values, against people making money, this and that? Why are they becoming so woke? And then I started reading. I found out what postmodernism is, and guys like Spinoza, who's really kind of the founder centuries before of post, but other Derrida and stuff like that, like Foucault, like what they believed in. And I what really made me a Republican or turn to Trump is because I started looking at like the social decay, the decline in birth numbers, the decline in the family unit, and what like Michael Savage says, America, a country is borders, language, and culture, right? And if these kids coming out of college are listening to postmodernism, which says that no, everything is defined by power. Sex is power. It's a man
Hmm.
taking advantage of a woman by the basis of power. Now, where the right fucked up with the ideas of postmodernism of critiquing it is they believe that that's a belief. It's not a belief. It's just a tool. It's actually a tool that came up in like anthropology. Um, so all these postmodernist ideas that started coming up in academia. You see that now with the woke left, like they can't get around the idea that the world is racist or that America is racist, no matter who gets president, no matter how good black people are doing, because they believe that if a black person says something negative against a white person, that they can't be racist because white people own power. So you can't be racist against someone that has power. That only racism only comes from power because we hold the institutions, which I still am trying to figure that one out. But as I saw this wokeness, it morphed into transgenderism. Gay marriage. I was a libertarian, bro. I didn't really care. It was like, okay, gay marriage one day, and then like literally 4 years later, it's like trans. Like all of a sudden, it just like popped out. I'm like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like it just like everywhere you go, there's trans. Especially, I live in a city, so I see it a lot more. You go to Target, you see trans kids. It's like, what the fuck is like? It just, I couldn't understand what was going on. I saw this fundamental change from 2010 to 2020 that I don't even recognize anything anymore. And then this guy comes down an escalator in the Trump hotel. Donald Trump. I was an anti-Trumper. Okay. I was a never Trumper. I thought the stuff he was saying, because at the time, I wasn't very socially right. I was more like left leaning socially. I still believed in abortion, because my mom had an abortion when I was 3. So I still believed in the right to choose. I didn't really care about gay marriage and all that stuff. It didn't matter. And then what Trump was doing, though, which was effective, is that because for years and years and years and years, because anytime one of us on the right were critical of Obama, we were being called racist. Not that we're just critical of his theories or his implementation or his politics. It was that we were just racist. And a lot of people, I can see where they came from, is they wanted someone to defend them. And that's what Trump did. He was pretty much saying like, okay, all this, you guys have been being called racist for years. Well, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to fight back against them. Instead of playing politics with them, I'm going to insult them. And a lot of people lash on. I didn't. I voted libertarian in 2016. And finally in 2020, I didn't vote for anybody. I didn't like either of them. I thought the way he handled COVID was suspicious. And then like just the Charlottesville shit. Like I know there was a whole speech involved in it, but you got to check your words, man. Like you just never say on both sides. It doesn't matter. You never, ever come down on the side of Nazis for any reason, even if you're just trying to explain a whole situation. And then finally in 2024, this year, what really got me on the Trump thing was, again, the postmodern wokeness that I saw just so pervasive in the society. And the really like, what is America? What are we? We have to identify ourselves as something. Like, what is an American? And I just started to feel like we're losing our identity of what that is. We have to have a common language. We have to have a common culture. It can be, European with African, it's fine, but it has to be part of the stew. And I thought growing up that we were supposed to not see color, that we were supposed to, everybody was the same, right? And I still believe that everybody's the same. But then we're being told in the 2010s that no, you're not the same. Like black people should be like this, and white people should identify in it. And it doesn't matter what you think, you're actually racist inside because you see someone as black, but they should be able to say that. It was fucking mind blowing, right? So why I voted also for Trump is I saw what like, dude, the Democrats put up a bad candidate. I'm sorry. Kamala Harris with the word salad shit. I can't hear you, brother.
I'm sorry. You didn't vote for Trump in 2016. Is that correct?
No. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. Didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I was a libertarian. I voted for Gary Johnson.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sweet. 2020, I didn't vote for anybody. I didn't see anything appealing about either of the candidates. And then this one, I did Jill
Stein. I voted for Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate at the time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. I have not voted. Sorry to interrupt you. But
no. That was kind of my spiel.
A candidate of a party. I did George Bush and what was that? '04, I believe it was. Yeah, '04 I voted for George Bush. And then '08 I didn't vote. In 2012 I did not vote. And then no, I voted for Gary Johnson because he ran in 2012. And then in 2016 I voted for Gary Johnston. 2020 I voted for Jill Stein. And then I voted for Kamala
God.
this last election as a protest vote. For me, it was more of a protest vote.
And that's
I was
fine. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. I'll
for
accept that.
me, I was really disappointed with the third party movement in this last election. There was none. Everybody went so far either left or right. There was no middle. The Green Party had Jill Stein. There was another billionaire running that I can't remember who it was now, but it's like, what is this? You know what I mean? This isn't like um, a working class candidate. It's not
Yeah.
somebody that's coming out saying that, both parties are, I've always just had this like one bird, two wings, and I've always kept that mental thought that, both of these parties are actually the same thing. But I don't know. Now that I pay attention more, I don't see that. They both screw us over in some manners or another. Like for me, there's a meme going around right now. It was 20, I think it was 2020. Liberals are going to legalize weed nationwide, whatever. And then here we are, still all beat up in the back of a work truck with none of that going
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
But I don't know. I think it's lazy to say that both parties are the same today. The policies are different. The ideologies are different, and they're clearly different right now. There are a set and cert of morals and values that you have to be on either side. So to say that they're the same party, in my mind, when you say something like that, I think that you don't pay attention.
Right.
For one, you don't understand how the government works. For two, or you're too lazy to fully believe in the things that you're espousing or arguing. You're too uninformed to be able to defend that position. And so when you get backed into that corner, they're all the same, and that's an easy way out for people.
Yeah.
So I hate that. And, I don't think, as far as the two party system goes, like I've given up. I don't see a third party ever being able to get in and to separate them out enough to be able to establish a strong enough following, because there are so many people that are just, like how we started out. It is the way it is because this is the way it is. I was a Republican because that's all I knew. You were a Democrat because that's all you knew, and it's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
I think we're better. And the Republicans, I think, have done are there right now, and I think they're starting to separate a little bit more. At least I see it. MAGA kind of came in and took over the party, and left a lot of conservatives high and dry.
Yeah.
That
Like me.
aren't
I mean, I'm
that
a conservative,
that aren't that extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they kind of took over that party, and I think we're starting to see a fracture there, where some of them are going to are going to go against MAGA and stand back on that traditional conservatism because it's almost dead. In that meld where Democrats, they just kind of all teamed up and moved hard to the left. I don't know, maybe I
Well,
don't know.
yeah,
And they haven't fractured quite yet. Go back to that moderate Democratic Party and then the liberal of the liberal. Democrats aren't liberal. I think that term gets used pretty loosely now, because if you go back to the definition, and you said it earlier, if you go back to the definition of liberal, to me, liberalism sounds more conservative than it does
it is.
liberalism.
It is. And in
Because
Europe, you're a conservative, you're liberal. Like
yeah,
that's the way it is.
yeah, yeah, because you support individual freedoms, social equity, and government intervention to promote welfare and protect rights. Liberals tend to favor progressive change, such as reforms in healthcare, education, and civil liberties, while valuing
You had
democracy
to
and
fucking
pluralism.
Google, didn't you?
I did, wanted to be clear on it.
I
But
know. I'm
because
fucking.
it is, when you define it literally, it's more of a Republican definition than it is a Democratic definition. And so we get loose on those terms. You know what I mean? When people say, "Oh, you're a liberal," I'm like, "Well, what do you really mean by that?"
Yeah.
Is it you think that I want to open up the border and everybody gets free shit everywhere? Is that what you mean? Or is it more conservative where we're saying, hey, let's protect our people, let's build a strong, healthy, well-educated society to progressively move forward where everybody gets a piece of the American pie and it's not just a set few.
See
What do you
the
mean? What do
way
you mean by that?
see like what the way when you just described like the Republicans, how you have MAGA and then you have the conservatives. See, the way I look at the Democrats is I look at it as like a four-part party, right? Like I look at it like Hydra, okay? Tentacles. So you
Yep.
have the woke left, right? The academic and when we're talking about my concern, what I think is the biggest threat to America is academia. You have these woke left academics where things like MMT and critical race theory, all that stuff, that's where it comes from, right? So that's the woke left. Now, that's one arm of it. The other arm is the, professional protesters. That's the other arm of it, which comes from academia. You have the bureaucratic left, which is your guys like Joe Biden. You can even say Obama is almost a bureaucratic leftist. And then you have a guy like you. You are I can almost say populist in a way, or a liberal, a classical liberal, right? Maybe even a conservative Democrat in some aspects. A Democrat voter. You are Kent Williams, a guy that sometimes votes Democrat. That's the other arm of it. And I love your arm. Okay, like I want to surgically remove the academic arm because I think that is just destroying America, dude. Like the craziest shit comes from academia, and the problem is with the Democrats, it sprinkles down. So if anybody comes out and says, "Hey, maybe like the vote that just happened for the CR vote, like that is to vote for the spending that was from Biden and the
Look, do we have
Democrats."
we have about 10 minutes left? Can we dive into that just a little bit? The CR bill,
Yeah,
because
go for
it's a
it.
big thing. It's a big thing right now. Republicans were coming off yelling at Democrats, hey, they're not going to fund the government if they don't pass this CR. What bothers me most about this CR is it's a Nancy Pelosi CR. It's her budget. It's
Yeah,
Nancy freaking Pelosi's budget. We
yeah,
have been a CR is a continuing resolution, meaning we continue these
to fund the
budgeting
government.
items. Okay, so we have 100% Democrat budget that we are no longer under a Democratic government. At the executive branch, the judiciary's been taken over. Our
Long
Senate
gone.
House are all controlled by Republicans right now. Okay. And one of their big things is they want to take the budget apart. And instead of having, and I totally support this, I think it's a great idea. We have a line by line vote versus we put one bill together and we smack cram all this other shit into it where we have all the fluff, we get the pork items that are put in here, so and that's what Nancy Pelosi's bill is. It's a bunch of shit just piled together that they're voting on. Is it necessary right now? Yeah, because if without it we don't fund our government,
We
and that's a
default. Yeah.
scary thing.
Yep.
Okay, so our Republican Party has come in and say, hey, they want to take all this stuff over, whatever, right? And then they introduced Doge is what I call it. And we have all this waste fund, all this waste and fund, or waste and fraud that they keep talking about. All right, so why on earth are we going to continue Nancy Pelosi's budget that funds all of these programs where they have found all this waste and fraud at? Why are we giving these programs all that money again? That was my big, like, why are we? And that's where I supported the Democrats was, hey, no, this is not responsible. If there's all these programs have waste and fraud, we shouldn't be funding them. We shouldn't be giving them more money to spend right now. You guys need to sit down, um and get what they need to get with Democrats, because it's got to be bipartisan on it. And we're going to fund this, we're going to fund this, we're going to fund this. And so now they're punting towards the spring, or I mean, I'm sorry, the summer, where they're going to come up with their own budget plans, right? I don't believe in them. I don't believe that Republicans are together enough to be able to put a budget together where we're not going to continue the same Democratic budget plan from what 4 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago now. It's not keeping up at all. It's time for a new budget, and we need our politicians to work together. So that was my beef with this. Like I'm okay. I was okay because a lot of the stuff that are in this CR are programs that I'm passionate about, and they need to be funded. Child cancer research. I believe in that. I believe in feeding kids in school. I don't think any kid should go hungry. I don't think anybody should have to worry about whether their kid eats at school or not. Um, you know, uh, Disabled or special education programs. I think those need funding. There's just a lot of it. Health prevention. Stopping the spread of HIV. I think that's pretty fucking huge. Whether it be here in America or globally, and that does make me more of a globalist than a populist. But as you said earlier, I have a lot of those shared beliefs for it, because I think if you help people where they are, they're not going to need to come here. You know what I mean? They're going to want to stay where they live. I'm born in the asshole of Kansas. I just said I don't want to be anywhere else on the planet. I've been to Maui. I've been to the coast in California. I've been out to Virginia Beach. I've seen it all. The mountains. I am a high plains fucking person. I don't want to be pushed out of my area, my community, because the laws no longer protect me, or I can't get access to things like healthcare or good education for my kid and things like that. So I think that helps a lot with like a lot of the questions, immigration, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But this CR bill really bothered me because we have a Republican government now. The majority of voters, not America, the majority of voters, because only half this country that eligible voters voted in this last election. So the majority of people who actually voted for this. And so I think that they should govern. They should enact their policies and govern, and we get what we get for what we chose to do as a nation for this. But we're just continuing these old Democratic policies now from Nancy Pelosi. And I think pretty much everybody, outside of the old boomers and things like that, are younger Democrats especially are ready to move on from the Obama era. And that is Pelosi, that is Schumer, that is everybody that's been in power for the last 10 years. We're done. You know what I mean? And so that to me is why like AOC came out and said, no, we should, and fuck Schumer, basically, with this CR bill. And I hope she primaries his ass for senator, because we need those changes. We need that younger voice to come in. We need people that aren't going to just roll over for old attitudes and, business as usual type thing.
See, my problem with that is that
It was a lot.
when I see that, I think it's more of a fuck Trump than a fuck Schumer. Like we're just going to be the opposition party, even though it's their budget. But and of course, when I listen to this stuff, unfortunately, I'm listening to pundits that are talking about just, well, fuck Trump. We're not going to vote for, we're not going to go along. We need to be the opposition party like he was to us. And it's like, when I hear that kind of language, I just think like, okay, now we're I personally don't care if the government shuts down, because in reality, it doesn't really do much. They always use this as like a fucking this red flag. And every time it happens, it's not that big of a deal. So like the worst that really happens in reality, parks. Like national parks get shut down. That sucks. Nobody likes that.
But a lot of people go hungry too. They're not being paid. That's a big part of me. Is nobody that works for our federal government during a government shutdown gets a paycheck. And that makes it pretty tough for people. That to me is where it's at. And I think that's a lot of our problem in politics.
Non-essential government employees don't get paid. Non-essential government employees get paid, but essential government employees do get paid. Military still gets paid. It's see, when I hear this stuff, I think of like the private sector, because like when there's problems in the private sector, you lose your job and no one cries for us. It's like, so why is it like,
but we have unemployment, we have things to help us.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. Like, and they get unemployment as well, federal employees. So it's like, I mean, there are mechanisms that they still get some money. Do they get the big ass check that they usually get? No, but they do get some money. So like, I have a hard time with like feeling sympathetic for federal employees when it's like, well, this is what we deal with all the time in the private sector. Like we don't have benefit packages. We don't have, retirement packages. We just go to work every day and pray to God everything's going to be okay.
Mhm.
And so like when I hear that, I have a hard time being sympathetic to it. So part of me says, all
Mhm.
right, shut it down. I don't know, whatever, if that's how it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. And I agree with you. Like there needs to be where we're not just, doing the same old business. Yeah, the Republicans need to come up with a budget, but the problem is, are the Democrats going to vote for the budget? Probably not. Because we just keep on going
That's
back and forth on this opposition thing. So
that's where we need to come together, and that I think that's the point of our
absolutely.
show. Too. We need to come together. They need to be bipartisan. They need to be willing to reach across the aisle and work together for common sense. And put things out there that are going to work for working Americans. We've got just a couple minutes left, and I think I'm really excited about our show, Jeff. We're gonna kind of model what Gavin Newsom's doing. You
I knew
brought
you
up
were gonna say, I knew. So tell the audience my deep dark secret I told you today, because you won the last
I don't
debate in
know.
my
I
mind.
don't. I don't know if I want to. I don't want to just yet. We're gonna have some deeper dive conversations, and we're gonna lead. We're gonna lead to that because I think here in the next, there's got to be what 3 or 4 months left before people start announcing to run for
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for president again. And the Democrats are, in both of our opinions, are in trouble.
If they
They
just
are in
drop the
trouble.
woke,
There's
drop the woke, drop the woke. Drop it. Just drop it.
we're
Let it go.
yeah.
The racism thing, that there's a racist behind every fucking corner, that every cop out there is just hunting for black people. Like it's got to go. Like it's got to go. And I think I don't understand the Democrats like that. I'm sorry for, I know her name most of the time, but I forgot her name. The congresswoman that during Trump's address was using all those curse words and all that stuff, fuck Trump. The African American lady,
uh,
I can't, what,
Jasmine Crockett.
okay, and I know that's everybody's wet dream now. It's like, no, we don't need that. Like that's a Marjorie Taylor Greene of the left. We
It is.
don't need it.
It
So quit
absolutely is.
putting your eggs in that basket. Like, and that's
She's
what I'm
better at it
afraid of.
though. I got to say that.
Well, from your perspective, sure she is.
I
From your
mean,
perspective,
yeah,
sure she
yeah.
is. But I look at Marjorie Taylor
Yeah,
Greene as a threat.
it's
And
gross. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I don't like it from either side. And I mean, she's better at it as she's funnier, I guess. Like when Margie MTG goes off,
uh,
it's like
uh,
Jewish
uh,
space
uh,
lasers, and it's like
yeah,
wild shit. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I don't know. I like a
So we
good
got to
shit
tamp
talking.
both sides down, though. Like when I
Yeah, we
hear
do.
all the news pundit Democrats going, "That's who we should rally our party around," is girls like that. It's like, no, no.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like Gavin Newsom. Okay,
yeah.
he's at least willing to reach out to Michael
Mhm.
Savage and Charlie Kirk and have discussions.
Steve
You know,
Bannon was.
Steve Bannon. I mean, could you imagine a left wing politician having a conversation with a guy like that? No, like
I
that
am
is
so
a lot.
angry at like the Twitter left because they are so upset that Gavin Newsom is
Being a
having these
governor,
guests on and having open conversations about where we're at today. And what's so crazy is and then they get mad because he doesn't offer a lot of pushback. He's not there. It's not a show designed for debate. It's there to share opinions and have a dialogue between the two opinions, and that's okay. We should be, as Americans, we should be willing to come to the table and listen,
yeah,
and be able to appreciate each other's ideas, regardless if they're way out there or to the right or to the left or whatever, and come to the middle,
yeah,
on it. And I agree. The racism exists, and I think that we should always be diligent towards it and work towards a better, brighter future for everybody. And equality should be there. And I'm so over it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel it's 2025. We shouldn't be having these debates anymore. And so I get turned off. I do, dude. When it comes to the racism thing, I get turned off on both sides of it. I'm
yeah.
just like, get the fuck over each other, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, dude,
We
like
all
we
have to go to
can't
work in the
rehash
morning.
slavery anymore. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
That's kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And what I was going to say is like the 2024 election, and why I don't understand. Again, I forget her name. You just said it, but like her stance is like the 2024 election should have shown Democrats something. They should be learning from that and learning things like Gavin Newsom, that you gotta move to the center. You gotta start talking to people on the right. That's what the election should have shown you. That we're done with the woke. That was the number one thing from most people like me, is that I'm not gonna vote for Kamala because she's a DEI candidate, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that should show you something, and you should learn something from that instead of just as they do, screaming at us, shouting down at us, and we're tired of it. We're tired of it.
No, and we got to get out of here. And I look
Yep.
forward to, diving into, taking, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a subject. We're going to deep dive into it. We're going to try to stick to it for an hour and not go away from it. And, I think trans is one of our subjects that we
Yeah,
want to
that'd be a good
go
one.
into. I want to get into why Republicans hate 3-letter acronyms so damn much somewhere down the line. And what's crazy is, Jeff and I, we have a lot of, we're on the opposite side of the political spectrum, but Jesus, we agree on so much. It's just getting there to that end goal.
Especially
We're a little
music.
bit different. We're a little bit different. I mean, shit, music, we're right there together, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like me and
We
you
both
think
like that
Kurt Cobain is
popular
the
rock
same.
and roll. We're the MTV generation. We're not afraid to say the Backstreet Boys rocked.
Oh, time out.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But we like the same stuff, except for the emo. I never really got into the emo punk rock.
You
Bands,
look like a fucking emo though at this point. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but if you go
bro.
back to
And see,
2007, you're emo.
you go back to 2007 for me. I'm cop cut, clean cut, shaved face. The last 3 years since COVID, I grew my hair out, and and that's another thing, for me. And a lot of people don't recognize me in my own town anymore because I've never been this homeless looking. But a friend of mine's kid had cancer and leukemia, and they had an issue getting a wig for him. So I decided he passed on. So I decided as a tribute for him, I was going to grow my hair out and donate it to Wigs for Kids. So maybe somebody,
That's
and
really
that's why
cool,
I
man.
have long hair now.
Really cool.
And I think if you're, I don't know, my mind on that has changed too. I don't know why we're all so damn clean cut and stupid. We should be all growing our hair out and donating it to the less fortunate if you can. There's not a lot of 40 plus year olds. There's a lot of 40 plus year olds that don't have beautiful locks like I do. And
No, I got a Jufro, bro. I have a Seth Rogen Jufro.
My genetics are strong. I don't have gray hair, and I'm not going bald. And I think that's a dominant thing, man. I like to slap that around.
Okay. All right, you do that. I got a Seth Rogen Jufro, dude. So it's like,
there's not wrong with that
I don't think
either.
anybody wants that shit, dude. Like just like as soon as this grows past this, it's like poof. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't.
So you could give Derek a run for his money.
Probably, but you'll never see it.
Yeah,
you'll
Derek
never see
grows a beautiful fro.
Yeah. Well, all right,
more
man.
than one area on his body.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna get out of here, dude.
What do you got coming up later today?
Yeah. Oh, we got Roudcast. Me and Rowdy Roud, the two fucking dynamic duo. Going to talk about some crazy, weird shit about kids blowing up in hyperbaric chambers and freaking pedophiles and all kinds of fun stuff.
And that's tonight, right here on Derek Releford's Back Home Media channel. What time?
It is going to be 6 p.m. Pacific. 11
that's 8 p.m. Central.
Yep.
8 p.m. Central and 9 p.m. Eastern. That's the beauty of Back Home Media. We're all across the freaking country. And that's why we have such a hard time scheduling anything too, because nobody knows what freaking time zone we're talking about when we're scheduling anything. But
yes, sir.
Jeff, take us on out.
All right. Thank you so much, Kent, for this fun little exploration of our past. And thank you, Back Home Media, that we're able to do these great shows. And thank you guys for joining us. And we will see you, in a week, 2 weeks, whatever. I don't know. We're fucking slackers. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kent. And thank you guys for tuning in.
media.